You were promised a republic, a nation of laws, not of men. You were told its foundations were stone, its traditions sacred. That was the promise, a story told to children. But there is a deeper truth, a truth buried in a 2,000-year-old script for seizing power. The citizens of Rome were given the same promise. They watched it turn to ash. This is not a history lesson. This is the revelation of a pattern, a strategy that repeats when ambition decides the law is no longer convenient. We are going to decode the chilling echoes of that strategy in the world today. And we will ask the question that terrifies the powerful. Are we living in a story that was written long ago? To understand the playbook, you must first see the decay. The Roman Republic was a corpse long before Caesar buried it. A century of expansion created unimaginable wealth, but it was a fantasy for the average citizen. That wealth was captured by a corrupt elite who treated the Senate as their private fortress. For everyone else, there was only debt and the illusion of a voice. The system was a powder keg waiting for a spark. Into this chaos walked Julius Caesar, a man of aristocratic birth who branded himself a champion of the people. He understood a fatal truth. In a dying republic, politics is theater. Real power is never given, it is taken. In 60 BC, he formed the first triumvirate, a secret pact with two rivals to paralyze the state and divide the spoils. Caesar's prize was a distant command in Gaul. For 8 years, he waged a war of savage conquest. This is the first rule of the imperial playbook. Forge a power base loyal only to you, far from the eyes of the capital. The conquest of Gaul delivered what the system never could. First, staggering personal wealth from plunder. Second, his dispatches from the front, the commentaries, were a masterclass in propaganda, crafting him into a living legend back home. But most importantly, it gave him an army, a hardened, loyal force that had spent a decade bleeding for him, not for the Senate. This army was the true source of his power. The Senate recognized the threat too late. They ordered Caesar to disband his army and return to Rome as a private citizen to face his enemies. This was the moment of truth. Obey the law and be destroyed, or break the law and become the law. On January 10th, 49 BC, Caesar led his army to the edge of the Rubicon River. To cross it armed was the ultimate act of treason. He gave the order. Alea iacta est, the die is cast. In that moment, the rules ceased to exist. The institutions were revealed to be hollow. A man with a loyal army and a powerful story had become more powerful than the state itself. He won. Caesar returned to Rome its master and was declared dictator for life. The senators who murdered him in 44 BC thought they were saving the republic. They were fools. They killed the man, but they could not kill the playbook. The institutions were already dead. The power vacuum was filled by his heir, who became Augustus, Rome's first emperor. The playbook was now written in blood. Exploit the people's rage. Use foreign wars to build a personal army. And when the system tries to stop you, burn it to the ground. The founders of the United States were obsessed with Rome. They saw its collapse as a prophecy. Their deepest fear was concentrated power, backed by a permanent military. And yet, America has always been a story of expansion. In the 19th century, it was called manifest destiny, a divine right to conquer a continent. The Louisiana Purchase, the annexation of Texas, the Mexican-American War, an empire built by force under the banner of liberty. With empire came a new theory of power, the Monroe Doctrine. It began in 1823 as a shield to protect the Americas from European empires. It mutated. By 1904, it had been twisted into a license for American intervention, the right to act as an international police power. The shield became a sword. This history reveals the same cracks that broke Rome. First, the war between the executive and the law. In Rome, it was Caesar versus the Senate. In America, it is the imperial presidency versus Congress. The Constitution gives the power to declare war exclusively to Congress. The last formally declared war was World War II. Korea, Vietnam, the Persian Gulf, Afghanistan, Iraq, all were fought under the authority of the executive. A shadow system has been built to bypass the people. It is the logic of Caesar. It's faster, it's cleaner, and it consolidates power in one office. Second, the cycle of endless war and economic decay. Rome's empire was bled dry, funding its legions in distant lands. Today, the United States maintains a global military footprint with no historical precedent. This posture costs trillions, fueling a national debt that buries future generations. The forever wars in the Middle East created a state of perpetual war, mirroring the late Roman Republic. It is a system designed to serve itself, starving solutions at home to feed the war machine abroad. This playbook does not just describe the past, it dictates the future. Capital follows power, not principles. And today, the playbook is no longer being hidden. The Monroe Doctrine was explicitly revived by the Trump administration to justify a great power competition with China and Russia. In 2019, the National Security Advisor said it plainly. In this administration, we're not afraid to use the word Monroe Doctrine. This is the quiet part said out loud. It is a worldview where might makes right, where sovereign nations are merely pieces on a chessboard. Look at the maximum pressure campaign against Venezuela. Across administrations, escalating economic sanctions have been used to cripple the country's oil industry and sever its access to global finance. This is not foreign policy. This is economic warfare. It is the unilateral use of overwhelming power to break a nation without firing a shot. It shatters global markets, supply chains, and commodity prices. This is a hostile takeover of the world order. The post-World War II system, built on the idea of national sovereignty, is being dismantled in favor of a world of competing empires. It is a world Julius Caesar would recognize instantly. Is America destined to become Rome? That question is a trap. It's a distraction. The real question is whether you recognize the playbook in motion right now. The ambitious executive who claims to be above the law. The forever wars that drain the nation's wealth and soul. The crushing inequality that pits citizen against citizen. The playbook offers a seductive promise: strength in an age of chaos. Decisive action in an era of paralysis. It is the same promise that led the Roman people, exhausted by a corrupt and broken Senate, to celebrate the man who torched all the rules to get things done. They cheered for him as he dismantled the very system they relied on. The playbook is written. The pattern is repeating. The only question left is the one no one wants to ask. When a system is broken, do you save the rules, or do you cheer for the one who breaks them? Is America destined to become Rome? That question is a trap. It's a distraction. The real question is whether you recognize the playbook in motion right now. The ambitious executive who claims to be above the law. The forever wars that drain the nation's wealth and soul. The crushing inequality that pits citizen against citizen. The playbook offers a seductive promise: strength in an age of chaos. Decisive action in an era of paralysis. It is the same promise that led the Roman people, exhausted by a corrupt and broken Senate, to celebrate the man who torched all the rules to get things done. They cheered for him as he dismantled the very system they relied on. The playbook is written. The pattern is repeating. The only question left is the one no one wants to ask. When a system is broken, do you save the rules, or do you cheer for the one who breaks them? Recognizing this playbook isn't just an academic exercise. It's a critical tool for navigating the world as it is, not as we're told it is. If you want to learn how to decode these geopolitical patterns and understand their impact on markets and your capital, this is just the beginning. I teach you how to apply this knowledge in my macro investor class. Click the link in the description to learn more and protect yourself from the predictable outcomes of a very old script.